Hi, hello, and welcome to a new episode of Release. I'm your host, Adriana, and I'm so honored and grateful that you've taken the time to listen to what I have to say. And today, I wanted to say welcome to season 4, guys. If this is your first time hearing my voice, hello. If this is not your first time hearing my voice, welcome back. I have decided that for season 4, I am going to really be digging into the darker parts of what I feel people need to hear. Because my role here, yes, this is a podcast, and yes, I am just a person telling stories, but I have organized and I put out episodes because I feel that it needs to be said, or I see that someone may need to hear it, or I may get an intuitive hit that it's needed in the collective at that moment. But this season, I feel, and the seasons after, I will definitely be opening myself up more in the sense that, yes, I am vulnerable on every episode from episode 1, but my vulnerability has always been sort of like a room that you can open the door really easily, but there's like another set of doors that maybe it's a little bit harder to open, but you can open them, and then as you go back, there's more and more doors that are much harder to open, and one that's like sealed shut with a lock and like bolts and everything. Like, that's the way that I see my own vulnerability. And as I go through and as I slowly open those doors, I'm recognizing that people need real people. The reason why I think one of my favorite compliments about Release is that people tell me that it feels like a conversation, and that's exactly what I want it to feel like. I want it to feel like you're talking to your sister, friend, whatever that feeling is that you get when you listen. I want it to feel like you're listening to someone that you can trust, and you know that this person is not, they're just giving you the facts straight. They're just giving you the details. They're just giving you the things that they need you to have in that moment. And maybe the messages that I'm giving, maybe the things that I'm saying now, they don't necessarily resonate with you at this moment, but maybe they will resonate with you in a few months, in a year, in a few years, whatever the case may be. I lay out the foundation and I lay out all these messages and all of these episodes because I want it to be that when someone needs it, they have it. Because there are a lot of things on my journey that I had to learn from scratch, thoughts that I had to develop. Most of the things that I talk about on here are things that I had to learn and relearn and practice. And there are still things that I am practicing and learning. But as I practice and as I learn, I want to send out the information, because I know that if I'm learning and if I need it and if I needed it, then there's someone that needs it. So moving forward, I do really want to push myself in that direction, because the things that I talk about are deep, but they're not digging into the depths. And I want to start to do that. And I definitely think that possibly having guests that have similar experiences or have knowledge on those topics will definitely help, because the conversation may feel a little bit easier than just me sitting down and recording myself telling some story. But for this first episode of season 4, I wanted to talk about something. I do want to preface that this episode and this season may possibly have a few trigger warnings and content warnings, which I will be saying during the episode. I will be writing it in the description, and I will also be putting the trigger warnings anywhere that I post it on social media, because I feel like it's really important that even though the information is out there, a lot of people are not ready to receive it because they're still in the middle of their pain. And because they're in the middle, the triggering and the talking about it may not be the best, because they're still trying their best to be okay with it. And I understand for certain things, the triggered feeling does not go away. You may be able to listen, but you may still feel triggered. I don't want to push any kind of, I don't want to just begin speaking without letting you know what I'm going to speak about. So, whether you are aware or unaware, April is, now you're going to be aware, but April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month. And before the month is over, I wanted to talk about not the details of my experiences with being assaulted, but more about what came after that. So here, trigger warning, I will be referencing assault. I will be referencing rape. I will be speaking about mental illness to some extent. Yeah. So before I start on my story, I just wanted to say that the prevalence of assault and rape and the amount of people that are coming forward every day, or not even coming forward, people that are experiencing these things, it is at such an alarming rate. It is so high that people are possibly numb. The people that have not experienced it probably don't even understand the weight that comes with an experience like that. Regardless of the circumstances, the experience in itself is a very scarring and lifelong one. For me, when I was raped, I recognized that I had been assaulted before, and that even after that incident, I was assaulted and raped by people that I trusted again. But I was not accepting, because this experience felt like such an alien experience versus in the other experiences where I just wasn't speaking up for myself because I didn't know how to say no. I was allowing these things to happen. So in my brain, I was just like, oh, it's just something that happened, when I didn't recognize that I felt violated and I didn't want it, but I allowed it to happen because I was literally frozen. But in the specific experience that I want to talk about, after it happened in January of 2020, and the March of 2020 was when we had our COVID lockdown started. And between January and March, it was very, very hard for me to exist among other people, simply because I was processing all of what had happened, and I was being told by the person that hurt me that it never happened, and that I wanted it, and I was convincing myself that I had wanted it. And then on top of that, I was going to church and I was hearing people be ruthless about women and their bodies, and feeling like, oh yeah, well, I definitely deserve this because as a Christian I shouldn't even be going to a party anyway, so like duh, it happened to me. That sort of mentality, which of course is not right and that is not true, but in my head I needed something. I needed something to grapple with because it took me a really, really long time to come to terms with the fact that not only that it happened, but it took me a while to shift from the victim mindset. I talk a lot on here about lessons and learning from your experiences. And it took me a very, very long time. It took me a few years to recognize that and find gratitude in that moment and for that person. And when I say that, you probably think you're like, she's fucking crazy, like she's gone off the rockers, like but honestly, I had to realize that that moment began the trajectory of, or highlighted, because I recognized that Spirit had been working on me, Source had been working on me for years, little by little, but this was like the first catalyst that forced me within myself. I think that was my first ego death. Honestly, my first. I don't like ego death because, as we've talked about, the ego cannot die. Therefore, if the ego is dead, then you're no longer human. So we'll call it ego dissolution. That part of my ego is dissolved. But my first dissolution, my first real dark place, my real first, like, I had been depressed before and experienced depression before, but this was my first bout of extreme depression. But within that experience, I had to try to find gratitude, and I had to recognize that this moment highlighted a lot of the things that I needed to work on. It highlighted that I needed to have stronger boundaries. It highlighted that I needed to be careful with who I was letting into my energy. It highlighted the fact that I shouldn't be in places I don't want to be to please anybody else. It highlighted that it is okay for me to speak my mind. It highlighted also that I was actually struggling with a lot of mental illness, under the quiet, very high functioning depression. And I didn't recognize that was something that was definitely taking a toll on me. So within those 2 months between January and March, it was the beginning of like a very hellish feeling, because it was like I was crying every single day. I don't think 24 hours passed. I don't think I could last 12 hours without crying. So I remember one time before lockdown, I used to have my stats class, which stats, man, I hated that stats class. I literally cried independent of this experience, I cried during every single stats exam and test that I had. Like, it was traumatizing. I hated that class. But anyway, I remember in March, or maybe it was February, I was sitting in that class and I literally could not focus, because all I was thinking about was how, like, I'm about to start crying. How if this class doesn't end in like 2 minutes, I'm going to have to either run out or I'm going to burst into tears in the class. I think that's one of the reasons why I possibly just didn't like stats and it didn't click, because my brain was like not there. my concentration was not there at all. And after that class, like, I ran to the washroom and just like burst into tears. I have a lot of memories of me standing or just sitting in a washroom, whether it was a public washroom or, we're not really sitting in public washrooms because we don't trust toilet seats like that. Sitting in the washroom at home. But yeah, sitting or being in a washroom stall and just silently crying. I remember even at church, like everywhere, it was just constant tears because there was something inside of me that was cracked wide open. There was something inside of me that I could no longer hide. Like I said, high functioning depression. Like, I was used to hiding and covering and being okay with everything. And I remember before lockdown, my mom and I were going to church, and this was like a Wednesday because there's like Bible study on Wednesdays. And I remember there was this lady that was standing, like she was waiting for us to cross the street with her, or she was waiting with us to cross the street. And she looked at me and she looked at my mom and she smiled and she's like, oh, she's so pretty. Why doesn't she smile? My mom looked at me and she's like, why don't you smile? People always say that to me. And normally I would smile, but I remember this vividly because I remember, like, I looked at her and I couldn't fathom a smile. So I just looked at her and like the thing changed. So I walked away. And my mom, after she told me, she's like, that's when I realized that something was wrong because you just didn't have it in you at all. Like, normally I would smile, but this time it just wasn't gonna come. Like, it just wasn't happening. And then after the lockdown, like, I was stuck in a house with my parents, and it's much harder to hide my daily occurrences, my daily cries, my daily pain, when I am being, like, my parents are in the same space. We're in very close proximity. And that was not, eventually my mom was like, what is wrong with you? Because you are not, like, doing well. And we had a conversation that necessarily, it didn't make it any better, but I did end up telling her, and yes, it was sort of a weight off my shoulders, but at the same time, it's a very complicated feeling, an experience to have. And within this time, I started going to therapy. I actually started going to therapy secretly, paying for it out of pocket because I felt ashamed and scared to let my parents know that I was getting help, because if I let them know that I was going, they'd be like, why? What's wrong with you? So I did it secretly for a little bit. And it was, I remember one time, so this person that had raped me, that hurt me, because in my head, I had, as he was telling me that I wanted it, I convinced myself that he was a good person and that I actually did want it. And so in order for me to solidify that belief that everyone's a good person, benefit of the doubt, I would find myself in situations with him over and over and over again. And he is bigger than me, and he is taller than me and stronger than me, and he has held me down many times and abused me many times because I allowed him. I gave him power in those moments without recognizing that the reason why I was giving him power is because I felt powerless. I felt like this person had seen me at my worst. He had made me my worst. So if I was doing this, maybe it was for revenge. I don't know. I never got revenge. Revenge is not what I wanted. I just wanted justice. Period. I just wanted someone to justify my feelings. I wanted not someone. I wanted to feel justified in my feelings. I wanted to really, really tell myself, like, okay, self, this is something that happened. You are not delusional. This is it. And again, I was friends with someone that definitely was not helping the situation, because this was one of the first people that I told. But before that, that was also the person that, okay, side note, I should not have been friends with this person for that long. But the night that it happened, it was at like someone's birthday party, and I had not eaten. If you know me, I have a very hard time with keeping up with an eating schedule. So I had not eaten that day, and I had eaten like a Nutella sandwich before we started drinking, and we were drinking like vodka. We were drinking really, really heavy stuff, and because I knew all the people that were at the party, they were like giving us shots and giving us joints and blah, 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 blah. So I was very, very, very gone. And I am a lightweight, so I was very gone. Like, I remember the guy whose birthday it was a house party, and the guy whose birthday it was, he had the master bedroom. But because we were friends with him, we would just go sit like in his room, and I was trying to walk from the door to his bed, and I remember like falling before I got to the bed. Like, that's how drunk I was. Like, everybody was sitting on the couch and on the floor and talking, and I was just like laying down, like silent and with my eyes closed, because I literally could not lift my head up. And I don't know how, but I got to a washroom, and that person that I was friends with, I remember I was wearing a fanny pack. I had a fanny pack and my phone was in it, and he took the fanny pack off of me because I had no strength. All I literally had strength to do was to say no. I remember saying no many, many times. And before you heard me say that, I struggled with saying no. And the reason why I remember is because I was saying no over and over and over and over and over again. And he didn't listen. He said I never said no. I remember saying it. But anyway, my fanny pack was not on me. It was beside me. And I remember like because I didn't have the strength to do anything, when someone actually knocked on the washroom door, which makes it a lot worse because the people that were knocking on the door one of them was a guy that had followed my Snapchat location and knew that I was there, but because I don't normally go out, he came out to see me. And another guy that was asking me if I'm going to dance with him and when we're going to hang out. It's very weird and like a really overwhelming situation. But I didn't even fucking care about any of that. All I cared about was making sure that my friend was safe, because I hadn't seen her and we had gone there together. So I'm calling this girl, I'm texting this girl, I'm asking if she's good. No response, no reply. I'm asking everybody where she is. They tell me that she left. I'm like, well, that's weird. I'm like, that's real strange, because I would have never left her. There have been many, 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 many situations where I have bitten the bullet and waited for her because I didn't want her to be alone, because I didn't want her to experience anyone taking advantage of her, because I thought if I was there with her that maybe it would deter someone that would hurt her from hurting her because there's someone else there. That's just my thought. Like, the people that I'm friends with, and we had been friends for a very long time. So the people that I'm friends with, like my close friends, are like my family. Anybody, like, it's not only my close friends, like any person that I come in contact with, that I have any semblance of a relationship with, even if you're just a listener on here, like, I will go 100 for you any day, because every single person deserves someone that will go 100 for them on all days. And that's what I always aim to be for every single person that I come in contact with, even if it's just a smile to a stranger. It's just the way that I am, and I'm just very protective of my people, and everyone's my people. So anyway, so they told me she left me. So I was like, bet. So I went home, and the next morning I had texted her and I told her, and her response was, I don't think that person would do that. Which is very interesting, because afterwards, after she knows the situation, I texted her. She was one of that day, like the day after when I woke up, I wasn't going to tell anybody, but the way that I felt, the feeling that I felt deep in my chest, I was like, okay, this isn't something that I wanted. I know that for a fact. She was one of the first people that I told. I only told 2 people, and she was one of those 2 people. And as I said, I was not in a good state mentally. Obviously, it was really, really taking a toll on me. But I remember because she wanted to smoke with this guy, she wanted to, whatever she wanted to do, she would beg me to come with her to the house of this guy. Was roommates with the guy that it was his birthday, so she would beg me to go to this house with her after she knew what had happened. And she's like, oh, he's not gonna bother you, we can just stay locked up in the other guy's room, like there's no issues, blah blah blah. And I was like, okay, fuck it. Because again, I did not want her to be alone, because I knew the kind of person that he is, and I know how men are. So I didn't want to leave her alone. So I went with her. I would go with her. And every time, of course, he would find a way. He would find a way to hurt me. And it was just one of those things. It was just one of those things where I really had to recognize that not everybody that is your friend, and not everybody that you go 1,000 for, is going to do that for you. Because at the end of the day, you and that person, if y'all are not on the same page, there's going to be issues. Like, especially if you're socialized differently. I was brought up on love. My mother, I love my mother. My mother is a lover. I am so sure that she is a water moon, or a water rising. I'm a water rising. The moon, your moon sign depicts your emotions, and then your rising sign is sort of how you show up in the world. And I show up as a very, very emotional person. I am just a watery baby. And I feel like my mom is the same too. My dad's a fire sign. He's less emotional, but my mom, she's very, very, very emotional. And I grew up on love. Like, my dad shows his love in a different way, but I grew up in a home of love. Everybody around me, my family loves me. That's what I grew up on. It's just how I am, and I have to love. It's just my job on this earth to love. I feel like that is like my highest calling. I think that's all of our highest callings as humans, to just love. Do everything out of love. And as I have been practicing that, I'm recognizing that life gets so much easier when you do things out of love. Like for me, this podcast is out of love, and I had to take the time away for myself out of love for myself. Even though I love the podcast, I had to take time out for myself to focus on school stuff. And now as exam season, I have 2 exams left, but by the time that I post this, I would be done my exams. But as of right now, I'm taking today because today is a day where I feel like I can take a little time to record and then go back to my studying. But yeah, back to what I was saying. The love that I felt and feel always for everyone. I had to realize that not everyone is worthy of the love that I was giving. Not everyone is worthy of being in that energy. Because some people are energy vampires. Some people just suck the life out of you. And I realized that that person that I was friends with and that person that hurt me were both energy vampires. And one was sucking on my energy long term, and the other just latched onto me. I realized that very early, that when you have a certain type of energy, you will attract people that are not good for you because they love your energy and they will stick around. They will do anything to be in your energy, because I realized for me personally, I brought a lot of people peace. I don't know why. I don't know what it is, but I brought a lot of people peace. So a lot of not great people, especially men, would stick around and they would latch on to me and they would do everything in their power to keep me with them and around them because of the way that I made them feel. And now I'm recognizing that I had to understand that, like, for love of myself, I shouldn't have been in those spaces, because those people left me drained and dry and sad. So back on topic. After lockdown started, it was a lot of numbness, a lot of disassociation. I have a lot of memories. Blonde by Frank Ocean. That was Blonde and Control by SZA and Z by SZA. Those 3 albums were the albums that I had on repeat. And Case Study 01. Okay, those 4 albums, mostly Control and Blonde. But when I wanted to switch it up, I would go to Z and Case Study. But and Case Study 01 is by Daniel Caesar, and Z is also a SZA album. But anyway, those 2, Control and Blonde, they were the main soundtracks of that time in my life. Those albums, I love those albums. I have so many memories of me. I remember when I used to work at this one place that was kind of far from my house. And I would bus there, and I get off the bus and I had to walk basically along a highway from my bus stop. Like, the bus stop for me to get home was like maybe a 10-minute walk away from my workplace. So I had to walk along a highway to get to work and then walk along it to go back to the bus stop. Anyway, I remember walking along this road with just Frank's voice in my ears, and I remember thinking, like, I honestly could just walk into the street. I was just like, I could dead ass walk into the street right now, and then this would be the end of this. And I have also a lot of memories of beginning that walk and then not having any memory until I get into my workplace or getting on, because I used to take 2 buses to get to work. And I remember Like, I would remember getting on my first bus, and then I don't remember anything until I'm on my way home from work. Like, I would zone out a lot. And at that point, living was not fun. There's no joy in living. Obviously, life is full of so much beauty, but I was so deep in my pain that pain was the only thing that was being reflected back to me. So I was just, every day just felt worse and worse. And honestly, at that point, the way that I was feeling, the depths of darkness that I was feeling, I honestly was like, I'm on a journey. Like, I'm on a journey to not be alive anymore. A lot of recklessness and impulsiveness, mostly with just smoking, not cigarettes. I would smoke a lot, and like I said, I'm in lightweight. I would smoke 2 king joints. If you know what a king joint is, cool. If you don't, you can Google it. But I would smoke 2 king joints to be able to tolerate my boyfriend at the time, who I realized in some ways was a punishment to myself as well. But I would do a lot of things like that, like just trying my best to cope, because I was very sure that these days would be my last days on earth anyway. So I might as well just go out and It's not funny. It's not funny at all. It's just the way that I said it. But no, in all seriousness, like, I felt like, okay, I'm gonna go out anyway, so I might as well just try this. And obviously trying that did not work. I felt myself, it felt like it was getting worse and worse. And yeah, therapy was helping, but it felt like I realized that I was not doing the inner work. Like, I was going and I was talking about the things, but then it was like I'm keeping all of these experiences built up. I remember one time, after not seeing my therapist for about a month, because sometimes I believe that my pain is an inconvenience to others, even though I was paying her to listen to me. And I spent about a month not seeing her. And then when I did make an appointment with her, she's like, okay, tell me what's been going on. And I start listing out all of the things that have happened to me in that month. And she looked at me and she was like, are you okay? Because one of those things would drive someone insane, and you're dealing with so many. I'm like, girl, I am definitely not okay. But again, like I said, I was used to balancing a lot of heavy stuff and still trying to show up in my life. And it took me a really, really, really long time to recognize that my pain could not be silenced and that I had to work through, and I am still working through. And anybody that has been assaulted, there are certain traumas that you experience in your life that, although you may heal from them, the experience itself and the memory of that experience will always trigger you, and it will always stay with you. And this is one of those experiences, one of those instances. And then after this therapy experience, time went on. I went to the doctor. I told her about how I was feeling, because my mom said that I should talk to the doctor. So I did, and she gave me antidepressants and antipsychotics. And I remember, like, that feeling, it was like this feeling of, oh my God, all of this, of course, now, like I said, I had to learn from the experience and I had to find gratitude in the experience. But at that time, it was a heavy blame game. Like, I was very much like, now I'm on all of these meds because of this person and this person fucked me up, blah, blah, blah. When I had to recognize that, okay, yeah, this was illuminated by this person in this experience, but maybe I actually did need them. Maybe this was just the thing that needed me to get there. But of course, I didn't take them. Not of course, but it was very hard. Anybody that has been on antidepressants know that it's a hard adjustment period. And it may even make you feel worse before it makes you feel better. So that was not the vibe that I was on. But my doctor kept prescribing them. And I kept saying that they didn't work because I wasn't taking them. So she would change them. And then I had a lot of pills that were just laying around. And in the summer of 2020 was the first time that I had attempted to really honestly, like, take my life. I took a bunch of pills, did a lot of crying, did a little prayer, and then I was listening to Blonde, of course. As I said, Blonde is my album. And then I zoned off into sleep, and I woke up the next morning and did a lot more crying, emitted the substances from my body. I did a lot of throwing up. Yeah. And then again in that same year, a few months later, I tried again. Of course, did not work because I'm here. And all of this to say that all of those experiences and more. Now, I'm not saying that this is the only way to find gratitude in life is to have something really horrible happen to you. I hope that you never have to have horrible things happen to you for you to find gratitude in life. But for me, I'm so happy to be alive because I was trying a lot of things to not be alive. And I've seen so many stories of people who succeed, people who happen to die in car crashes, people that die by simple things. But I was actively trying, and the universe would not let me die. But now I'm here, and I have so much gratitude for life because I lived a life of death. Like, I have lived a portion of my life that felt like dying over and over. And honestly, this ego dissolution, it has happened to me twice. I can pinpoint 2 times in my life where it feels like I've really had parts of my ego dissolve and fade away. And I am so grateful for those moments because now that I have died so much, I can finally live in every single moment, every single experience. I'm so grateful for them because they could have not been happening. I could just cease to exist at this moment, but I'm still here and there is so much, and I am so ready for myself and whoever is listening. It's time for us to live a life that we love. It's time. Life is way, way, way too short. Life is too short for us to do things that we don't want to do. It's too short for us to not do things out of love. And I know that this world programs us to do things there are things that we have to do and things that we want to do. But I am so grateful that the things that I have to do, quote unquote, align with the things that I want to do. I am so grateful that my passion is people. My passion is loving. My passion is creating. So those things go hand in hand. And I'm so grateful that I can go to school and pursue something that I love. I can pursue helping other people. And that's what I love to do. But for you, your passions may be different. But I hope you find a way to intersect. It may not be in every single part of your life, but a way for you to intersect what you feel like you have to do and what you love to do, and watch how that intersection allows for blooming to happen. Watch how things change. I know that if I had not gone through those experiences and other things combined, and really the universe waking me up, like that was really the beginning of my awakening, but the universe really waking me up and saying, hey babe, you're here for a reason. You're here to do the thing. Like, we're not gonna let you fall that easily. Like, yeah, now we have to clear out a lot of things, because if I had not gone through that experience and had all those things illuminated, I would not have some of the knowledge I have now. I would not have the perspective that I have now. I mean, maybe eventually it would have come, but it would have come maybe later in life. This whole transformation has been so aligned with COVID to the point, like, I'm so grateful for COVID. I'm so grateful for COVID. The person I was in 2020 going in and the person that I am now are so different. They are so different. And I strive to always be better and always be evolving. Every single day is a little bit of evolution for me. But all of this to say that you're not alone. Your experiences are so valid. Your feelings are valid. Your thoughts are valid. And one day the sun will come out. One day you will feel so happy to be alive. One day of course, life isn't just gonna not have any problems anymore. But one day you'll wake up and say, thank you, Source. Thank you, universe. Thank you, whatever name you use for your Godhead. Thank you for keeping me here, because now I can see the beauty in life. For me, like, I'll go on walks and I'm like, I'm so happy I'm alive, because I get to see the trees and I get to watch the world change through seasons, and I get to watch my friends, my family achieve beautiful things, and I get to experience what it's like to be a human. And that experience is so short. It is so short, and we do not need to shorten it anymore by allowing ourselves to be bogged down. Yes, bad experiences are gonna come. Yes, they're going to hurt us. Yes, we're going to need to take time to heal. Yes, we're going to need to take time to grieve and mourn. But within that grieving and mourning, we have to try to find the silver lining. We have to, because if we don't, we will be living in our own hells. The last thing I'm going to say is that I'm sorry, I started tearing up a little bit, but the last thing that I have to say is that heaven and hell, people talk about heaven and hell as like places. They are places, but they're places in our minds. They're states of mind. I was living in hell for many years because I was allowing myself to go through those dark patterns over and over and over, and I was making myself suffer. But now I'm living in heaven. I'm not saying that your grief is hell. I'm saying that your perspective, because grief in itself is a human emotion. It's something that we all have to go through. But making yourself the victim is putting yourself in hell. Trying to find the golden key, the silver lining in everything that is happening allows you to feel a piece of heaven in your hell. For me now, I'm like, oh, I'm living in heaven. Things are light. Things are better. It's not perfect. there are many things that are not perfect. There are many things I'm striving to be. There are many times that I have breakdowns. There are many things that happen, but regardless, I try to find the good in them, because this is the experience that we are having for a reason, and it is a beautiful experience. And one day we will close our eyes and it will be the last time. And between that first eye opening and the last closing, I hope that you find passion in your life. I really hope that you can find the beauty in your existence, because you deserve to feel beautiful and you deserve to live a beautiful life. And with that, thank you so much for listening. Thank you for being here. Thank you for all the support and the love. Thank you for season 4. I am so excited to see where release leads us and the things that I and hopefully guests will talk about. So thank you all for listening, and I'll catch you guys in the next episode. Bye.